What's up, Zox fam? We're back with some more Etheria Restart. Appreciate you guys for tuning in today. Send you guys a ton of positive vibes, and if it is not that great so far, I hope that your day gets much better. But we're going to be getting into another component that is very, very important, and this kind of coincides with your matrix or your gear system. It's going to be shells, okay? So your shells are also something that I've been calling pets. Very, very important, okay? Not only are they going to be offering you a lot of utility as far as making your builds diverse, but they're also going to be giving you allotted stat values that are going to take your characters to an entirely different level. So we're going to be diving into them. I'll be giving you guys a generalized overview and understanding of them so that you can, wrap your brain around it, all right? First things first, let's start off with our rares here. We have Red Comet, which is probably one of the very first shells that you're going to come across. This is a striker. So yes, there are classifications to these shells in terms of the classes that they can be. And we're going to go through them as we go. One thing you'll notice here is that they are going to be offering you base attributes, and then on top of that they're going to have a exclusive skill that's going to essentially be something that you correlate or utilize in conjunction to the build or what you're doing or what you have your character doing. Basically what we have here, base attributes, we have the skill, which is Red Comet Awakened. So keep in mind, this is when the skill is awakened, is showing you that value. So it says before the action, and it's going to always clarify either after or before, but it says before the action of basically the anima or the character that it's equipped to, it increases its attack by 400 for one turn and heals HP equal to 40% of its attack. That's the very first one. Now we also have the Scorpion Queen, also going to have a skill as well, and hers is going to be an AoE heal. So after the main body acts or main character acts, it heals the main body and the Animus ally with the lowest current HP. The healing amount is 1500 plus 10% of the main body's max HP, which is just referring to the main person that is equipped to. Now, the Phantom Cat is a striker shell as well. This is going to be a single target damager. So after the main action of the anima, it's basically going to follow up attack the primary target. So whoever you hit, it's going to follow up that target, dealing 40% plus 1000 damage. If crit, deal an additional 1 times of the 40% plus 1250 damage. Again, this is going to be really important when you're talking about like crit builds, etc., stuff like that. Moving into our odd, this is what you can call like your epics, basically. The Lizard Intelligence Officer. This is going to be a skill that's giving you a single target damage and a damage boost. So before the action, select the enemy with the lowest HP percentage, deal 60% plus 2400 damage to them, and increase the damage they take from the next hit by 20%. So again, another thing you can kind of strategize around, right? Now, of course, with that, you also have sets, but I'm not going to go too deep into like what matrix sets. I'll do that in a more comprehensive guide, like I mentioned with the gear matrices. But this is just, like I said, to give you an overview. So we have Teacher Shao here. Teacher Shao has a healing boost awaken skill, where before the action, enhance the Animus, so the character is equipped to, increasing the healing result for this turn by 2000, right? Very straightforward. Now we have the Unrestrained Scientist, basically going to be an action increase. So after the character that this is equipped to goes, it will increase their action bar by 40%, right? And this is a supporter shell. Now we also have Tamamo no Mei, who's also going to be an attack up shell. So before the action, increases the attack by 600 for 2 turns, and additionally increases crit rate by 10%. Okay. Now we also have White Gal. So White Gal is actually one that I really like. This is basically going to be a debuff single target damager. So before the action, deals 2 segments of 25% plus 900 damage to the target with the highest attack, and extends the duration of non-control debuffs applied by the user by 1 turn, excluding DOT, and increase the user's Animus's effect accuracy by 4 turns by 15%. Right, so this one is be cooking people low key for me, but again, that's that. So we have the Martial Panda as well. So the Martial Panda is a single target crit damage up buffer. So after the main body acts, pursue the main target, dealing 2 hits of 30% plus 1200 damage each. If a crit occurs, increases the main Animus's crit damage by 5%, stacking up to 6 times. So that's a total of 30%. right? And this is a striker. Now, of course, with that, we also have the Reason Shell. So the Reason Shell here is going to be basically a healing boost, heal over time. So before the action, increase the healing amount of this turn by 30%, which is massive. And then additionally apply a heal over time for 1 turn to healing targets with current HP percentage below 65%, right? So great for sustaining your party. Now you also have the Mermaid Princess, which is a cleanser. And this is a survivor shell. So before the main action, if the Animus has debuffs, cleanse 3 debuffs. This is an absolutely disgusting shell, not gonna lie. Now we also have the Star, which is another supporter Animus, and it's a cooldown reduction one. So before the next action, reduce the cooldown of the next skill by 1 turn, and after the action, increase the action bar of the Animus by 10%. So very straightforward, right? Now, we're getting into our excellence, what I also like to call legendary shells here. So the first one we have is Blizzard, who's also a supporter. So cooldown reduction. So after the action has a 60% chance to reduce the cooldown of 1 random skill by 1 turn. Very, very good, right? We also have Black Flag here. So Black Flag is also a supporter. So speed up action increase. So after the action, follow up the main target dealing 140% damage, apply a speed buff for 2 turns to the Animus and increase the action bar by 35%. Right now, we also have Shanghai Jing. This is going to be a survivor shell, and this is an action increase one. So for every 3 actions taken by the enemy units, increase your own action bar by 25%. This can only trigger 1 time per turn. Okay. Now you also have the Twilight Knight. Twilight Knight is a single target damage defense down, and this is also a striker. So before the action, deal 200% damage to the enemy with the lowest HP percentage, and additionally reduce their defense by 60% for this turn. This thing can hit hard, I will say. Now you have Law of Silence, which is also a survivor shell. So damage reduction. So at the start, grant the user's Animus hollow state for 1 turn. Then every 4 turns grants the user hollow state for 1 turn after the turn, and increases the defense by 25%. Now, hollow is basically where it makes the target cannot be selected as the main target by enemy skills and takes 50% less damage from area attacks. This is super insane. Like, this is super insane when we're talking about strategy, right? Now, with that, we also have Crossroads. So Crossroads at Awakened before the main body acts is also a striker shell. It's a buff attack up life steal. So it increases the attack by 800% for 2 turns and additionally applies life leech for 2 turns, which basically it converts 30% of the damage you deal into your own health, right? Huge. Now, of course, with that, we also have the Golden Lion. So the Golden Lion, each time, this is a buffer and a striker. So each time the Animus uses 3 or skill 3/1 skills, it increases the Animus's crit damage and effect accuracy by 8%, stacking up to 5 times. And then we have the Heart of the Diamond here. This is basically a defense up shield and a supporter shell. So before the main body acts, applies a defense up for 2 turns. Then, and also just to click on that, it's a 60%. So then apply a shield equal to 360% of its own defense for 2 turns to the main body Animus and the Animus ally with the lowest HP percentage. And that shield is there to absorb an equal amount of damage based off of, in this specific pet, the defense, right? All right, so let's go back. There we go. All right, so then we have Tianjiao Beast. This one looks really, really cool to me, but this is also a survivor, okay? And it's a cleanse single heal. So before the action, if the unit has debuffs, dispel 3 debuffs, and for each 1 debuff dispelled, restore 10% of its max HP. That's insane. And then lastly for this class, we have the Electro Squid. So with the Electro Squid, it is a healer, right? So it's one of the first ones that we just have, probably second one that's just pure healing. So healing boosts and heal over time. So before the action, increase the healing amount of this turn by 40% and additionally apply heal over time for 2 turns to the healing targets with current HP percentage below 65%. All right. And then now lastly, we have our legend, mythical, if you want to call them that, it does not matter, or red class shells, right? So we got Supernova first, who is a healer. So healing boosts heal over time. So before the action, enhances the user. And then it also increases the user Animus healing by 45% for this turn. Additionally, grants heal over time for 2 turns to healing targets with current HP percentage below 75%, which is really nice. Then you have the Codex of all magic. This is a supporter and a cooldown reducer. So before the action, activate all of its prowess, making the next skill used by the Animus have no cooldown, and additionally increases speed by 10% for 2 turns. This is absolutely insane. Like, that's insane. Then we have White Fang Warrior. White Fang Warrior is a single damage crit damage up. So after the main body acts, pursue the main target, dealing 2 hits of 140% damage each. If a crit occurs, increases the main Animus's crit damage by 6%, stacking up to 10 times. And then lastly, we have Gigabyte here, who is a defense survivor here. And it's an action increase. So for every action, or 3 actions, sorry, taken by the enemy units, increase your own action bar by 35%. And this can only trigger 1 time per turn. Okay, so let me know in the comment section who you guys have liked so far, like as far as like a potential kit, just to kind of get you guys brain going for play styles and stuff like that. I will say these are insane. Okay, a lot of these shells are pretty good. You're gonna find a lot of value from the lowest even going into the highest, right? Now obviously we're gonna move on to a little bit more detail when we're talking about shells, so you have a better idea about them. Okay, so what's really important to understand about shells is not only are they going to have those base attributes and skills, but one thing it doesn't show in that specific archive is the passive effects. And the reason why that is not shown is because the passive effects are random, right? So let's actually go in here and let's take a look. Right, so with the passive effects, the passive effect is basically a few things. Actually, let's look at a better pet, because there are actually more. So let's look at my Twilight Knight. Okay, so let's go into enhance, and then let's go to attribute. Okay, so what you'll notice here is that under passive effect, there's potentially, depending on the rarity that you have, there's going to be 3 that you'll be able to go after. Right now, with there being 3, this is going to be something that is really important as far as extra or additional stat values that you can give to your units. So if we go to the passive effects here, one thing that's really important to note is the passive attributes. So for each of these slots is going to be allotted a different passive attribute. Now, like I said, I'm going to have a more in-depth video getting into the intricacies of all of these, but just noting that there are different stats that are, basically assigned to each slot. This is why the push for getting more slots is so important, because there is literally stat values that can decrease how much you have to put into your gear or your matrix effects to allow you to open up for other builds, right? Now, not only are your passive effects really important, but then you'll notice that the pets themselves can also have matrix effects. Now, what's really important to note here is that the pets or the shells can also have 3 slots for this, right? So essentially you can get an additional 9 slots to any matrix, right? So it's always a group of potentially anywhere from 1 to 3 per slot, but it's a total max of 9, okay? So when you start getting to those higher rarities like the legend, you'll see this 3rd slot open up, and then that'll give you to 9, right? Legends, excellent, or these I guess, like, if we call them anything, I guess, yeah, it's like, I guess really it's like the orange or yellow rarity or excellent here. They can only go up to 6, but the max total is going to be 9, right? So just kind of keeping that in mind. Now, of course, with that, that's going to be opening up your set bonuses, and it's going to allow you to be able to further increase the strategy behind what type of team comps you're building or how you're building your units. And then the other crazy thing about the skills is that the skills are, yes, can be used individually to the character, but they can also be used in a way to set up another character following up you. So for example, like one of the shells actually damage increases the next hit that happens after you go. So that would be something that you would have to speed tune, for example, when you're talking about maybe making strategic comps for like an auto fight, for example, or even your setup for your PvP team. These are the things that you would have to think about. Now, a couple of other functionalities is really cool. Obviously, you can upgrade, very simple. You just obviously upgrade the pet. You use duplicates of the pet. So as you go up in star rarity, it will increase the number of dupes that you will need. So for me to fully awaken this, I need 4 copies of Twilight Knight to fully awaken this, right? Now, the other thing is too, is that you can change the passive effects. And this is what makes this system so broken. You don't have to stay with that effect that rolls the first time. It will cost you some resources to be able to change the passive effect, but you can do it, and it does roll randomly. Okay. Now, the last part here that I really like, and this is probably one of the best things that they could have added for this, is that if you invest in, say, a Twilight Knight, and then you get a better Twilight Knight to drop, you do not have to level that one. Especially if it's going to the same character, you don't have to level it all over again. You can just take the old Twilight Knight, for example, and you can fuse it into the other one, and whichever one ends up being the base, that's the one that, so it'll be, and it'll say current shell. So whichever one, so imagine this one was the level 1 one, right? So if we were using the level 40, this would basically get fed all of its value into the level 1, and then the level 1 will become the one that we equip, but it will come with the Onslaught and Battle Will versus Onslaught and Harvest, right? So it allows you to save a lot of resources. It does not cost anything. So it is absolutely insane when we're talking about, like, you know, you're farming, but you don't have to re-level it, right? That's like the beauty of it. You don't have to re-level the pet, because the pets can be very expensive when you start adding up values of currency. So this is really nice, right? I really like how they have this system set up. Again, I just wanted to kind of go through it just somewhat so that you guys can kind of wrap your brain around it and start kind of getting your gears turning. But overall, that's basically that when we're talking about shells. There are going to be obviously other shells that come into the game. We're going to dive deeper into the shells where they drop from, and specifically the bosses that you have to fight to get them. So that's all going to come in the near future as we push to the official release of the game. Again, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Everyone, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.